We are going to talk about something heavy today. We started out very light for those of you who are online. We're talking about specific items that remind people of Christmas. This is the beginning of the Christmas season. For some, it's unpacking the church's nativity. There's family decoration centerpieces that have been around for many, many years. There is a year-round nativity that stays up on a mirror. These are all great things. They remind us of this season, specific items that trigger what it is we want this season to be. But we have to dig into something now. I was putting you off guard so you'd be all feeling sweet and wonderful and warm inside and nostalgic. But now we come to the heavy stuff. A cultural dynamic that is unique to this time of year. And of course, I'm speaking about, drum roll please, just kidding, the war on Christmas. Kaboom! This has been a very interesting thing I've been watching unveiled for the past, I'm going to say 10 years. I'm sure it's been there before and whatnot. But you're going to look at this postage stamp that's in your bulletin right there. And you're going to notice this was an 1898 postage stamp. So we're going to come back to that in a second. But where I see the war on Christmas, and it is everywhere online. Wherever I'm online right now, there's people saying that Christmas is actually pagan. There's Christians saying, no, it's absolutely not pagan. There's some saying that December 25th isn't Jesus' birthday, that was picked for whatever. Then there's others saying, it's probably not, but it doesn't matter. All these things fighting back and forth. Then we have this ongoing sort of rhetoric of like, I'm not allowed to say Merry Christmas anymore. I have to say Happy Holidays and Season's Greetings. Faith family, brothers and sisters, since the 1st of December, I've been conducting a covert social experiment. I've been going out of my way in all public settings to say Merry Christmas as much as possible without, when it's not even like as a greeting. I've been doing it weirdly. Now, I have to admit, I'm not a small man and I come off weird, so that's going to put people at a disadvantage right off the bat and they just may not want to upset me. But I'm going to say this. And it's anecdotal. I do not have data points spread over years in a variety of settings with a variety of people, with a variety of ethnicities, and a variety of generations. So this is not scientific. This is my experience. I have, in my experience of overdoing Merry Christmas, been greeted 100% of the time with nothing but warmth and smiles and a returned Merry Christmas. Now, I will say this. I have done this to many different people of a variety of different age ranges, ethnicities, genders, locations. 100%. Merry Christmas. Thank you. So, my experience, my concern that I always want to bring to everybody around here is how much of this stuff is real, how much of this stuff is manufactured. And I want us to keep that with us because I cannot say this enough to you. I will say it every other Sunday if I have to. Never forget that Facebook is Satan's playground. He loves that technology more than anything because if ever there was a technology designed to flourish division, bring out the worst in people from something so innocuous as a pothole to concerns around an animal, to concerns around children in the area. Oh my gosh, just take a second and breathe in the sweet smell of generous humanity that is on display in the comment section of any Facebook post. My friends, be careful. It's a really rough place. And this is why I want to say this is a tough one, because we like to hold on to this idea that we're protecting something sacred. And if ever there was a season that is sacred, Christmas would be that one. And there would be fears that if we're losing the Christ in Christmas, what is the point of what we're doing? And again, I want to say to you, there's been a lot in Christmas, long before the war on Christmas, that has nothing to do with Christ. Because the spirit of this is, as it's written in Philippians, and is at the top of your bulletin, let your defense of Christian holidays be known, for the Lord is near. Let your correct opinion be known, for the Lord is near. Let your rightness be known, for the Lord is near. No, Paul says it very simply. Let your gentleness be known. Now, I bring up this postage stamp in here. And for those of you online, you're seeing the image right now. Magic of editing. Because you'll notice at the bottom there is a date. 1898. I apologize to Andy because you've seen this and heard this so many times, but it bears repeating. I like this because you see all the red colors on that, and I'm assuming you recognize that this is a map of planet Earth, flattened out. We're on a globe, despite another cantankerous section of the internet. Thank you. The red parts are the British Empire, all right? This is the Victorian era, 1898. Queen Victoria, the most powerful monarch in the history of the British Empire, is on the throne. She'll be dead in a couple of years, but of course in 1898, nobody knows that. Canada has been in Confederation for 23 years. 21 years, 31 years. Math. There it is, 1867 and 98, 31 years. But as you can see, we're very proud to still be part of the British Empire. And this is when we talk about the sun never sets on the British Empire. Because you can tell, you can see all the way through. Look at all that red. That is all the British Empire. And I want this joke to be online because this is a joke my grandfather told me once. It's like, you know why the sun never sets on the British Empire? Because even God doesn't trust him in the dark. Woo! Sorry for all my pro-Brits, but you got to admit, it's historically accurate. And we see Canada right in the middle there. Now, there's a lot that's going on, why Canada's in the middle of this thing, and we're not going to get into that this morning. But I think, given the topic that we're talking about right now, you could probably all see where I'm pointing. Every time I brought this out for a lecture, I've been talking about Canada's imperial connection at the end of the Victorian era, which I know to you sounds fantastic, and you're like, wow, your students are lucky. I know. But it didn't even dawn on me how many people would bring up, it says Xmas. Right. And that is sort of put near the top of the list on this war on Christmas. Now, this is also important for this topic at hand because, again, this is the Victorian era. Now, nobody mentioned a Christmas tree because we're all good Christians, but let's be honest, Christmas tree, right? Very symbolic of Christmas. That is a Victorian era invention. Queen Victoria loved Christmas. The idea that we eat turkey at Christmas, that comes from Victoria. Father Christmas, the sort of pre-Coca-Cola green, but kind of like the proto-Santa, that is Victorian era. And another artist, a writer, by the name of Charles Dickens, was in operation here. And I can't quite remember, but he wrote a book that somehow is connected to Christmas. I can't remember what it's called. I can't remember if Christmas is in the title. This is the time of A Christmas Carol. This is a heightened celebration of everything we talk about. Now, was Queen Victoria trying to remove Christ from Christmas? No. This was a massive celebration, most of which we still take these traditions to this day. This is the pitch, it's the top, it's the star in the Christmas tree of Christmas fervor. We have Father Christmas, we have turkey, we have presents, we have Christmas trees. It's also a time when people are rediscovering the Greek language. Latin and Greek are still in the mix, but people are becoming a little bit more competent with Greek. A lot of stuff has been recently discovered. And so Greek is making a bit of a return. And do we know what the Greek name for Jesus, or one of the Greek titles for Jesus, is? Christ. And the first two letters of Christ in the Greek look like an X and a P. They're called the chi rho. It makes the kr sound. Christos. Doesn't matter that. But we've seen it. Does anybody have that ornament? It looks like an X with a P in the middle of it. Looks like an X with a P in the middle of it. That's the chi rho. It's an ancient, famous Christian symbol. And whether or not people want to take Christ out of Christmas and want to take Christ out and replace it with an X, if that is even their intent, as Christians, as informed people, I do want to bring this to your attention. X, for 2,000 years, for many generations, for over a millennia before anything like Christmas existed, apologies to my fanatical Christian friends who just want to defend Christmas so much. But for a long time, before anything like the Christmas we celebrate today existed, X was the symbol for Christ, or a very prominent symbol. We also have a fish, but we'll get into a fish in the new year. Don't worry about that right now. We have lots of symbols we don't necessarily associate with it today that were around for a long time. So again, I come back to, even if somebody does not want Christ in Christmas, and they replace it with the X. And so we look at it at Xmas. For anybody, and we're all forgiven not to understand this, for anybody who has had to do Greek for many, many years, X is Christ. So when we look at something like this stamp, this is not a late 19th, just about the turn of the century, attack on Christmas. It's a very simple explanation. It's a stamp. They're trying to save room. They didn't have room to write Christ, but there was no sort of sense that this was in any way, shape, or form minimizing Christ from it. The X means Christ. I tell us this because as we go into our world, we are going to encounter all sorts of attacks, not on Christmas just, but in the history of the church, some of the things that we believe. My faith families, this is to be expected. Because never forget, the essence, the heart of the season, if it is Christ, is, thank you Rhonda for pointing this out, a manger. It is a holiday of divine humility. It is not a God who models correctness. It is not a God who models power. It's a God who models compassion, gentleness, condescension to our station in life. It is not a God who comes as a king. It is not a God who comes as a conquering warrior. It is not a God who comes with much fanfare, possibly a star. Within a couple years, some kings from another land. But on his birthday, a bunch of smelly shepherds in probably a cave with a bunch of smelly animals. The spirit of Christmas truly is one of humility and gratitude. Thank you. We know in the material world we are so blessed, and that should give us pause because we know many, many are not. We should give us pause because I know many of us are struggling at a time of year when sometimes we can't really feel like we can express our struggle because it goes against the spirit of the season. I want it to be warm and fuzzy. Good, we all do. But warm and fuzzy for everybody means space for people to feel okay about not feeling okay. And again, it is so easy to fall into the trap of thinking we need to be in this camp, into the us and them mentality. This time of year, for all the celebration of family, for all the celebration of community, look at your actual families. Just take a second, think about your actual family, not the goal, your actual family. It's a wonderful spiritual microcosm for having to get along with people that some of them you can't stand. Okay, there's a chuckle, but that's actual family. That's why we have friends. That's God's way of apologizing for giving us our families. That one hit a nerve. This is the point. That this season, truly what the season about, in a spirit of gratitude, is recognizing the profound humbling message of God. This is the scandal of the Christian belief, that child in that terrible circumstance of being neglected, kicked outside in a cave is God. From the moment he drew his first breath, he modeled for us humility. And to close, in case you're doubting my sincerity on this, in case we do want to very much stand up for our Christian beliefs, fine. But never forget this. That baby, 33 years later, will be in a garden, praying so hard, so filled with terror that blood vessels are bursting, begging his father for any other way for what is about to take place to happen. And when one of his closest friends, arguably his best friend Peter, says, "You know what? I'll fight for you. I'll die for you." That same baby, now a man, will say, "If I wanted to, I could call down legions of angels." That's not what this is about. Let your gentleness be known to everyone. The Lord is near. Have any of us been harmed by our relationship with Christ? The church, yeah. Okay. Then if we encounter people out there who want to take Christ out of Christmas, they are not our enemy. They are not targets of our wrath. We should feel bad for them. We should try to understand. And above all else, they should walk away from one Christian saying, yeah, at least they were nice about it. Or, in Paul's beautiful words, they were gentle. Leave other people's thoughts about this stuff to themselves. We are called not to convince other people of our rightness, but it's a much trickier thing to do. We have to demonstrate the gentleness of the one this season is truly about. I would love to be right, but according to the gospel, it's more important to be loving, kind, gentle, patient. For that is the message of the season, and that is why, no matter how hard anybody may or may not try, we can never take Christ out of the season. Amen, amen, amen.